Janine Ilya.
Hey, Anna.
Welcome to the 5-year plan.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
Aw. So we're going to do your episode a little bit differently because, as you know, normally I start out by asking my guests what they wanted to be when they grow up and sort of who they were as kids. But in January of 2025, you woke up from a week-long coma. Mm-hmm. And since then, you've had to do a lot of relearning of who you are, both now and also who you were before. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually going to start with a bit of a different question for you. And the question is, who are you today? Okay. And what do you want to be when you grow up?
Maybe I'll start with the second half of the question because I feel like I can speak to that a bit easier because I'm like, who am I? It's a great question. Well, I would love to be known for the way that I love people. I know it might sound, I might sound cheesy, but
no,
I think
that's so sweet.
I think with everything that I've been through, and I think we'll get into it, but I just want to be known as somebody that deeply loves and cares about the people around me, who's community focused. I'm a lover of the arts. I'm a visual artist, and then I also recently got back into acting, and so I would love to be able to be a working actor. That would be so much fun. And I have a lot of little side projects, like I love ceramics. So that's what I would love to do in terms of work. And then outside of that, I would just love to build a family, love to continue growing and learning with my own family, have some nieces and a nephew. And so, and then I have the most amazing friends. So I would love to just continue on building my relationships, deepening my friendships. And yeah, that's who I would love to be. And then who am I?
I totally put you on this. I don't even know if that's a question I can answer myself. So
put
you on the spot.
Give me the challenge.
I'm 60% goofy. I'm a very silly, just fun-loving person, I think, and or at least I hope to be. I'm a huge empath, and so I love to connect with people on a deeper level. And I think because of the arts and my love for the arts, I'm very sensitive to creating and building, and so I'm very interested in how I can continue to build my community and deepen my relationships with people and connect on not just surface level, but really understand those who are around me, the people who I get the opportunity to, live life with and move through this world with. So those are a couple things about me, but heavy on the goofy.
You've shared a lot about your journey publicly and also very vulnerably over the last year and a half. What made you decide to do that?
Yeah, I think because my situation was so unique, and we'll get into a bit more about that in a little bit, but I think because my situation was so unique, I actually first intended to just I was hoping that I could find somebody who understood what I went through and connect with somebody who might have experienced the challenges that I went through and try to learn from them. That's where it started. And then as I continued to share, I received just so many people were really reaching out to me and sharing so many intimate feelings about how me sharing was really helping their situation.
Yeah.
And so then it became almost like a mission for me to continue to help and support folks who have been through whatever it might be, and find, I guess, support with some of the things I share. So at first, it really did start with the hope to be able to connect with others. And then it kind of, it molded and it grew and it became a little bit of what it is today, which is which just feels like an honor that people feel heard or seen or just appreciate and connect with the things that I say.
I mean, one of the things that you do is your Untangle Thoughts videos. I mean, I think that was the first video that I ever saw of yours. So I'm curious, what was the genesis behind that? Like, how did that start?
It really ties into how I was actually processing, and we'll get into kind of the aspects of my health and what I faced. But the idea of untangling my thoughts was genuinely how I felt. Mm-hmm. I was genuinely working through my recovery and my health challenges, and it genuinely felt like I was untangling my experience. And the little tool that I use, it's a puzzle cube, and it was actually really helping me in my recovery. It was helping build and grow my my mental capacity while learning how to multitask. And so I have a lot of little things that I did in my recovery process, even just with physio, that really helped me. And I was like, oh, maybe I could pair the two and start sharing my experience from this aspect, or like make a series. And yeah, that's kind of how the Untangling Thought series was born. Was I genuinely was untangling my thoughts. And it almost was a practice that I was doing like with my best friend on the phone. Like we would chat through just different life experiences, because as we'll get into it, like I did go through a lot of memory loss. And so I really had to untangle my own personal history and put pieces back together. And so there's almost this like element of putting the cube together, which is actually, it's a puzzle cube, putting the cube together and breaking down a thought or something that I'm challenged with, and like marrying the two, like solving the puzzle while solving a thought that feels tangled in my mind. And these are all really things that I've wrestled with and, attempted to find solutions. I don't think I have found solutions in every aspect, but we're always growing and learning. And so that's kind of how it was birthed. And I thought the puzzle cube was just like cool, and like actually I had bought it for my nephew.
I was gonna ask about the puzzle cube. Like, how was that something you had before, or like?
Okay, so I had bought it as a gift for my nephew, and it was just like, I think it was a bit too difficult. I'm so sorry to him. But he's like a little genius.
How old is he?
He's like 8.
Okay.
And so
okay.
yeah, it was tough, but he's like, he can like do Rubik's Cube and all that stuff. Yeah. And so he was like, I think this is too hard, and
he just gave it back to you.
Yeah. And I was like, fair. I was like, this is way too hard.
But it's a compliment that you think he's, smart enough to do it.
He's genuinely a little mini genius. Like he wants to be an engineer. Like he's amazing.
We've referred to this a little bit, but can you take me back then to January of 2025? What happened?
Yeah, so we can even jump back a little bit further. In December of 2024, I went to Rwanda, which is the motherland, and I was there for my cousin's wedding as well as Christmas, and it was a great time, like such a wonderful wedding. And when I came back from the trip in January, I started to feel a little bit sick, and it's interesting because my mom actually caught COVID. And so I assumed that I was also falling ill and catching COVID, because I was feeling like weak, just like, the everyday symptoms when you're catching COVID. I was feeling weak. My stomach wasn't feeling the best. And I called in sick, I believe it was on the 9th of January. And I was just resting and, feeling weak, but I didn't have any like cough symptoms. I didn't have any runny nose yet or anything like that. So I was like, this feels a little bit different.
And but at the time you were living alone.
Yeah, I was living on my own. The days leading up, I really only had 2 more symptoms that were very evident. And that was, I experienced diarrhea, and then I had one day that I vomited. And I was like, yeah, I'm allergic to the cold. Like I knew it. Like this is like, it was like so cold. And I came from like 30-degree weather to like -20. Yeah. It was like brutal. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, like this all makes sense now.
I'm allergic to the cold.
Yeah,
Is what
evidence.
you said.
Yeah, exactly. No, but at the time, norovirus was actually going around. It was quite common, and norovirus is, those are actually the symptoms. You'll get an upset stomach, have some vomiting, some diarrhea, and then it passes after 3 days. And so we assumed that it was potentially that. My mom actually came and started to take care of me after her COVID passed. And essentially, I got worse and it escalated to the point where I was coming in and out of consciousness. And I didn't know that I was coming in and out of consciousness. I was sleeping a lot, and the brain is very complicated, and I didn't faint or I didn't fall or anything of that nature. And so I didn't recognize that I was coming in and out of consciousness. And then after the fourth, fifth day, my mom was quite concerned because there was no signs of me getting better. I was just getting worse. And so she ended up calling 811, which, if you're based in Ontario, I believe in Quebec as well. I think it might actually be across Canada, but I'd have to double check. But if you're based in Ontario, you can call 811. It's an amazing resource, and you can speak to a nurse. My mom called 811 rather, to speak to a nurse to learn more about what we might think it was. And in that moment, my mom had to pass me the phone, of course, because I'm an adult. So they had to get consent that she could speak on my behalf. Mm-hmm. And when she passed me the phone in that specific moment, I was not responsive. Because I was non-responsive, as a part of their protocol, they called an ambulance. And so from that moment forward, I ended up going to the hospital, and I was in a critical condition. I fell into a coma on the way to the hospital. And when I got there, they discovered I had cerebral malaria. And cerebral malaria is something I contracted when I was in Rwanda. And so thus the journey began of me being in a very critical state. And it was very, very severe with all the types. There's a few different types of malarias. Mm-hmm. And the type of malaria I contracted is called Plasmodium falciparum. I'm not a doctor, so correct me if I'm wrong. Any doctors,
if I could be at this point.
If I pronounced it incorrectly, but essentially that strain of malaria, malaria is a parasite that attacks the blood cells, and that strain of malaria is very dangerous because it's the most dangerous type because it has a sticky serum, and so when it goes throughout the body, it causes blood clots, specifically in the brain, which is where the term cerebral comes from, because our brain blood vessels are very small. Mm. And so it could create blood clots in the brain, and then which leads to brain damage. It can be temporary or permanent. My case was very unique, as I mentioned earlier, because I didn't show any of the common malaria symptoms, mm-hmm. which are very, very high temperature, shaking, a lot of sweating. I didn't show any of those symptoms. And because I didn't show any of those symptoms, we didn't assume that it was malaria beforehand. There's an incubation period in the liver with malaria, but it looks like I had it for maybe around like 4 weeks. And so, 4 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks before they detected it, which is like it can happen, but because of the intensity of this parasite, which was very, very scary. Normally people pass away from malaria when their blood is infected at 5 to 10%. My case was very unique. I had 25.3% of my blood infected, which is a quarter. Yeah, which is a quarter of my blood. When I entered the hospital, they were absolutely shocked. They originally checked me for a lot of different things like meningitis, because.
Sorry, mm-hmm. Was that the percentage of your blood infected at the time that you got to hospital? Oh my
Correct.
God.
Yes. Yeah.
So before that, you were still like living.
Correct.
I mean, I know you said that you were going in and out of consciousness, but you were still like living, doing everything normal.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I didn't have any of the malaria symptoms. We didn't know the severity of my illness. We thought maybe it was COVID. We thought maybe it was norovirus or I am allergic to the winter, there's a
I feel
case
like
for
you
it.
want to be allergic to the winter.
No, I am. Yeah. And so we really didn't know the severity of my health condition. And also because I will say this as well, it was really in that specific moment. It's very interesting, the story, because it was in that specific moment that I was completely unresponsive. Prior to that, throughout the day, my mom came to check on me at lunch. I was responsive to her. I wasn't as responsive as I am now, however, but I was, communicating with her and at some degree, and she assumed I was very tired, and that I wasn't feeling well. She could see that I was quite sick.
Do you remember communicating with her?
No. So with my own experience of this, I would come in and out of consciousness, but I was very sick the week leading up to the hospital, but I didn't know. And so when it comes to how my brain was functioning, I have very scattered moments of memory from that time, but I didn't know I was coming in and out of consciousness either. I felt as though I was sleeping and then, waking up and then experiencing things, or like I was just like lethargic. I thought maybe I was lethargic, but the way it was affecting my brain was in a very severe way, and it already had really impacted me. I just couldn't understand that because I was already very sick.
Do you remember what your first memory was when you woke up? And you woke up a week later, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I was in a coma for a week. The way I was treated is they did a plasma exchange, which they removed all the blood from my body and gave me entirely new blood, which is not a common treatment. It's actually very rare for it to occur in adults because it's very dangerous, very invasive. And I responded really well to that, which was like a miracle. It was amazing. And then when I did wake up, I think my first thought was, oh, I'm in the hospital, because I could recognize that the ceiling was different. I wasn't at home. Mm-hmm. And then my mom was asking me to open and close my eyes. So I was like, oh, okay, I must have been treated for whatever happened. And I will also say, Anna, like, the thoughts that I'm explaining to you now were not as clear, if that makes sense. Like, it was like, it was very difficult to compile a thought, or like, I didn't know what was happening really to me at the time. I think that was my first thought is, oh, okay, I'm in the hospital. My mom's asking me to open and close my eyes and to squeeze her hand, which means she's asking me to be responsive to her. Mm-hmm. And my thought was like, I was opening and closing my eyes like this, like I was like really blinking. For those who are listening, I was like, I'm opening and closing my eyes, Mom. And when she asked me to squeeze her hand, I was like squeezing her hand as tight as I could, and like, Mom, I can't squeeze your hand anymore. Like, I'm gonna hurt you. These are thoughts I was having, but I wasn't able to speak because I also had I had feeding tubes in. And I was like screaming, like, what's in my mouth? Like, help me. So those are some of the thoughts that I had.
Yeah.
None of that was translated very well. And maybe I'll share a video with you, because the pace of which I was actually opening my eyes and squeezing her hand was very gentle. It was very different to what I felt like I was doing.
Well, so I might have seen it because I did watch. There's a video that you posted with your mom on YouTube where you asked her about her experience and her perspective for that whole journey. And there was something that you guys spoke about that I just thought was such like a special, beautiful moment, which was you were saying how you woke up and you felt all these like tubes in your mouth, and you were saying, you thought you were saying it out loud, but in your mind you were saying, get it out of my mouth, like get this out of my mouth, what's in here. And your mom, because obviously you weren't communicating this verbally, but your mom said in the video, like, don't worry, Janine, like, we're going to have the doctors take all of this out of your mouth. And it was almost like this, like, she knew exactly how you felt in that moment. There was no verbal communication, but she still knew.
Yeah. And I think that speaks so much to my relationship with my mom. There's like so many instances where I'll say something and she's like, get out of my head. Or
like now or before?
Yeah. Oh, even before. Like, we are just like two peas in a pod. Like, I feel like we share the same brain. And especially since I've had, neurological issues. I'm like, you really are the other half of my brain. But she and I are very deeply connected, not only just, like physically, but also I will say like spiritually, we share the same faith. And she really is a part of saving my life. If she didn't call 811, it could have been another hour or two and I could have passed away, right?
You have this like special relationship with your mom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering how, if at all, has that changed through this whole process?
Yeah, I think we've only gotten closer. And I also know, the stage of life that I'm in, it's really wonderful, like as an adult, to be able to connect with her in this way. And I know as well, from her standpoint, she became my caretaker. And that is a very like it's something that I am so incredibly grateful for her for. My mom is absolutely amazing. She's the most wonderful woman in the world. And I'm so grateful for how she cares. She's so attentive, incredibly generous. She's that person in our family that is like the heartbeat of the family. And for my whole life, I've really honored my mom. She's just like, if you know me for more than 20 minutes, I'll probably bring her into the conversation. She's one of my best friends. And I think, in terms of any parent who has had a child or has a child that is or has gone through a severe health issue, they'll know how much it brings you together. And my mom often says things like, I wish I could carry this for you, or I wish I could take this on so you don't have to experience this. And I think as somebody who had just gone through something very severe, that is like the only thing you can ask for in times like that, to not feel alone. I think loneliness is one of the most difficult parts of going through a health issue and going through recovery and doctor's appointments, is that you feel so isolated in your own experience, especially as a young person going through it. None of my friends have gone through anything of that nature.
Right.
Everybody has their struggles, but my specific community, nobody has gone through anything as extreme that I could relate to. And so I genuinely am so grateful for how she carried me through and supported me and was able to like make decisions for me while I was in the coma, and was able to, navigate all the challenges that come with, informing my friends and family, informing my workplace. And, she was such an advocate for me as well, because my case is so unique. There was a lot that was happening in the hospital itself. And there was a lot of doctors that wanted to study what was going on, a lot of learning happening. And she was really a wonderful advocate for me in ensuring that it wasn't done in a way that wouldn't respect and honor me as a person, and not just as a patient. And I'm so grateful for her for that as well. And she's just the best. Love you, Mom.
The easiest thing to do in situations like that would be to just focus on the negative, right? But I found that you have such a you bring such a positive light to these situations. And I'm wondering how much of that comes from your mom, or other members of your family.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for saying that. That was very kind. I 100% will say that I am Jane's daughter, in the sense that she has this amazing ability to look at the positives in life and to hold to those. I think I also have to say that, with my faith and growing up, my mom has always instilled in us that there is hope. And I think for myself, don't get it twisted, Anna. I have gone through so much, and I have been very depressed, and I have gone through so much anxiety, so many challenges. But my mom and my relationship with God is really the rock that I lean on. And I think my ability to kind of take the situation that I've gone through and find the light in it is genuinely because I also am so aware, and I really recognize that, especially from the situation, because it was a near death experience, is that there's so much life to live. And there's so many ways that we approach life, all in our own individual experiences, and we're informed by our experiences, of course. But something that I really learned from this experience is that, hey, okay, you have two ways you could continue to exist. You can continue to move forward in a way that you fear the world, that you let your anxieties hold you back, or you can work through those. You can allow those things to exist, because it's very important. Like, all of our emotions are valid. And you can work through them, and you can let them move through you, let those emotions move through you, and then pursue a life and live your life in a way that feels exciting, that honors your challenges and helps you explore the world. And I talked more recently in one of my videos just about radical exploration, and what that really means to me is to really approach the world with your heart and mind open to what it has to offer. This world is so difficult. Experiencing the difficulty and acknowledging the difficulty, and at the same time using joy as almost a form of resistance, choosing to move forward despite all the darkness or shame or whatever it may be, depression, anxiety, choosing to continue to move forward in life and explore this world, what it does have to offer in its entirety, the hard, difficult emotions. And like, and is a huge word for me. Being able to take the negative and then make it positive. I don't know if I'm doing that more than I am acknowledging the challenges
and
recognizing that there's also, this other way that I can approach it.
Right.
And I actually really enjoy that almost challenge of, okay, this is extremely difficult what I'm experiencing. And I have all the emotions that are tied to it. I have cried many days. I have, wondered why, I've experienced survivor's guilt. I've really gone through it, and I still am. I am doing a lot better, but I still have a few symptoms and things that I'm working through. And and I also have my health, and I'm able to walk, and I'm able to move through the world and be independent, and I can drive, and I can have make sentences, and I can speak in a way that people understand, because there was a time I couldn't do that. I can hold a cup, I can call a friend, I can I have more energy throughout the day. There's so many things that I'm very grateful for, and I think gratitude is also a huge thing for me, because especially in the early days when there was a lot that I could not do, gratitude was my rock, and being able to remember, like, hey, yeah, maybe you can't walk yet in a straight line, but isn't it amazing that you get to see your nieces and nephew grow up? And isn't it amazing that you can chat to your best friend in Denmark? And, the things that I could do, pairing the two, and then a lot of therapy. I'm so grateful for my therapist.
Can you walk me through some of that, early journey of recovery? What was sort of your physical state at the time when you woke up?
So when I woke up, I lost a lot of my body-mind connection. When you're in a coma, there's a lot of misunderstanding around what it feels like to be in a coma, what it means to be in a coma, how you wake up. And there's a lot of variables. Everybody experiences a coma very differently. For myself, when I woke up, I had a lot of other health issues as well. Cerebral malaria does not only attack the brain, it also attacks your other organs. So I had liver failure, I had kidney failure, and my breathing was a challenge as well. And so the early days in ICU, it was really just focusing on stabilizing my body. And then from there, we worked on the mind-body connection. And so because I had a brain injury, and a lot of people don't know this too, that a coma is also a brain injury. So I had cerebral malaria, which was attacking my brain. And then I also had a coma, and a coma is also a brain injury.
Oh, okay.
Coma is a symptom of cerebral malaria. However, when you fall into a coma, it's also it causes an injury to the brain. And so, it was a lot of learning, a lot of trying to understand what was going on. Really just resting in the beginning, the early days while I was still in ICU. And then when I moved to a different ward, that's when I started kind of wanting to leave the hospital.
Yeah.
Because it's not a fun place to be.
Yeah.
I had a really amazing team there, but you want to be in your own bed, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And so it came to, I had to learn how to walk again because I wasn't able to walk. When your body is laying down for a long period of time, you lose mobility in the body. And so that's also where the mind-body connection was off for me. Like how I mentioned earlier, I thought I was blinking my eyes really fast and I thought I was squeezing my mom's hand really tightly, but I wasn't. And so I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to hold things in my hand again. I lost the ability to understand what was going on inside of my body. And so when I was eating, unfortunately, I wasn't able to keep a lot down because my body was reacting to just everything I was going through in general. And so I had to reintroduce food very, very slowly because when you don't eat for a very long period of time, you can't just, hit a burger.
Yeah. You can't just hit
you can't do that. You have to introduce ingredients and foods very, very slowly. And then in addition to that, I had kidney failure. And so when your kidneys fail, you have to eat very specific things because you want to be careful with all of your just different levels, things like that. So yeah, so there was a lot of like just slowly reintroducing just everyday practical things like walking, talking, what was going on inside my body, eating, just very practical everyday things. I say that January 22nd, which is when I woke up, I say that that's my second birthday because it really felt like that. It really felt like I was reborn.
As we're filming this right now, it's only a few days away from your year and a half birthday.
Yeah. On Monday, which is crazy.
Yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about that mind-body connection? Because you've mentioned it a few times, but I'm not sure that people really understand what that means and sort of like what that struggle was for you at the time.
Yeah.
So do you mind just sort of explaining what that was and sort of your process for getting it back?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to jump back a little bit about cerebral malaria, my situation was extremely unique. I presented very asymptomatically. My body, like in general, when you contract a parasite, you have the symptoms of the parasite.
Right.
And so my doctors really genuinely don't know why my body presented in this way, why I didn't have those symptoms, and how I survived with up to 25.3%. And in addition to that, one of the biggest concerns was how my brain was going to be affected. As I mentioned earlier, cerebral malaria attacks the brain because it creates blood clots in the brain because of that stickiness of the parasite. And I miraculously did not have any blood clots in my brain, even though it was in my spinal fluid. It wasn't that the malaria didn't go to my brain. It was it was everywhere. It was a quarter of my blood, right?
Right.
But I didn't have any blood clots in the brain, which is why I ended up being this like medical miracle, which is a whole another story in itself. And I have so many feelings towards it. But when it comes to how my mind and body were connected, there's a lot of uncertainty from my medical team because already they were like, we are so shocked that you're alive, from when I entered the hospital. And so it was a lot of me sharing how I feel to my medical team and then learning where the gaps are. Because I experienced so much memory loss, I didn't have almost like the foundation of what I should feel like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was really learning as I was going. And when I talk about when I talk about and when I talk about Madi
mind.
When I talk about the Madi, which is what it is. It is the mind and the body.
It is the Madi.
It's the Madi.
It's the Madi because it's connecting the two.
I'm coining that.
Yeah.
Madi.
Yeah.
Huh? What I talk
It's a new medical term now, guys.
Boom. You're welcome. When I talk about when I talk about the mind and body connection, I really mean like really everything that your body does that your mind is telling it to do. But when it comes to how I was moving physically, I lost all of that ability, really. Right. And so, one of the first things that my nurse asked if I could do, or the first thing, sorry, my mom asked is if I can open and close my eyes, if I can squeeze her hand. And I was doing that very, very lightly, but I had felt internally that I was doing it in a way that was like firm and strong. And I was blinking my eyes quickly. And then when it comes to things like picking up a cup, or even how I'm talking with my hands right now, for those listening, I'm talking with my hands. I talk with my hands a lot. I wasn't able to do that. I would have to think about doing that. One of the biggest frustrations I faced in the early days was when I wanted to do something like pick up my phone or pick up water or feed myself. I wasn't able to do that. Along with being very, very weak in general throughout my body, I wasn't able to do the things that I was trying to do. It took me very, very long to like pick up a blueberry and put it in my mouth.
Wow.
And that was very frustrating because prior to that, I was very connected to my body. These are things that I had to work through in physiotherapy. Did a lot of physio from early days. Especially with walking, because when you're relearning how to walk, you need to do it in a way that is safe for your body, because otherwise you can develop habits that are unsafe and can be harmful.
Oh, interesting. How you walk. Like what?
If your hips are in the wrong place, or if your feet, which is what I struggled with, was my feet were not facing forward, they were facing inwards. And so if I continued to do that habitually for a really long time, I would get hip issues and back issues. I see. Sitting up straight was something that was very difficult for me because I lost all the muscle mass in my body. And you have, your core is full of muscles. And so to be able to sit up straight, and even my neck, I had a lot of complications in my back when I was doing physio, and we were doing massages as well to help with my muscular challenges, because there was a lot of tensions, a lot of knots. And then also when you're sleeping for a long period of time, when you're in a coma, you gain a lot of like tenseness throughout the body, which was very painful. My masseuse was like, I didn't even know where your muscle groups were because you were so knotted. Slowly, the mind-body connection came back. I'm still learning about my body. I'm still understanding how it really affected me as I learn about who I once was as well. Yeah.
You mentioned a moment ago that you were a medical miracle.
Yeah.
And you said, that's a whole other story about how I feel about that.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It's complex. I'm deeply, deeply, deeply grateful. And I am so happy to still be here and to really have this like second chance at life. But with that, I also have experienced severe survivor's guilt and PTSD. And I have challenges of feeling like whether or not this is real life, because people have lived entire lives in a coma and have experienced, there's, multiple stories about people, getting married, having kids, being in old age, and then they wake up from a coma and none of that happened.
Wow.
And they have to grieve their families. They have to grieve their entire life that was not actually real. And so being a medical miracle sometimes feels unreal, because my situation is, really unreal, you know? And so when it comes to survivor's guilt, and when it comes to this challenge that I face, whether or not this is real life, it really is PTSD. They're both forms of PTSD, and shout out to my therapist, and we're working through it. But it really is a daily challenge, and so while I'm incredibly grateful that I'm still here and that I get to experience this life and move through this world, I'm also still working through it. And to be like really vulnerable and open about it, it's a daily challenge. And things like this that feel like so special, like getting to chat with you. I wrestle with like, oh my God, is this real life? Like, okay, yeah, it is real life. It's real life. You know?
It is real life.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder.
I can confirm.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you live like a life when you were in a coma? Like what was that experience like for you?
Yes. Yeah. So, my experience with a coma is very anticlimactic. It's not a cool story, guys. It was just block. I didn't have any dreams. I didn't have any experiences in a coma. My coma was actually very severe. For folks to kind of understand a bit more about what a coma is like, there's a scale at which doctors use to, and neurologists use to identify the severity of a coma. It's called the Glasgow Coma Scale, and it's from 3 to 15, and there's a point system based off of patient's responsiveness and just different signs. And so generally when people are in a coma, they're around the like 5 to 7 mark. And I was a 3. And when a person is a 3, it's normally ruled as if they're going to pass away. And so for me, in my experience, I didn't have any dreams. I didn't have anything. It was just black. And then when I woke up, I had felt like I took like a really good nap. Like I joke about it, but genuinely I was like, oh, that was like a solid, like, a solid 3-hour nap.
Yeah.
And you wake up and you're like, did I die a little bit?
You're so refreshed.
Yeah, you're like,
I die a little?
You're so refreshed. And I'm like, did I die a bit? And it's like, oh yeah, you almost did, honey. Like,
Jesus.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I genuinely felt like I took a really long nap. I know a lot of people experience like being able to hear, being able to understand what's going on around them. Some people even can see, but can't speak, or some people have, live entire lives in a coma. But I didn't experience any of that, which I'm also actually quite grateful for, because folks that have gone through those experiences have a lot of other traumas that they have to face afterwards. And so my heart really goes out to folks who have been in a coma and have had experiences like entire lives, or have felt stuck and haven't been able to wake up. And for any family members who are sitting by people's beds, or, loved ones that are, standing firm and waiting for your loved one to wake up, like my heart goes out to you, and keep the faith and keep the hope, and sending all my love to people who are managing that, because it's very challenging.
How do you ground yourself in those moments?
Yeah, a lot of breath work. Breath work is amazing. Our breath is so powerful, and I don't know if you know a lot about your different nervous systems, but when you breathe, when you slow down your breath, when something's happening, people are like, breathe, breathe.
Yeah.
It's genuinely because they're different nervous systems, and your nervous system reacts to things in different ways. And, if there's a bear chasing you, your nervous system's, you're going to run,
right?
You're going to react that way, and you're going to run. And so the mind is so interesting, because your brain doesn't know if you're in danger or not. So if you're recalling a moment of fear, or you're experiencing you're remembering that moment when the bear was chasing you, your body actually thinks you're being chased. And so it's really important to slow down your nervous system. There's your sympathetic and your parasympathetic.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And to engage with your parasympathetic, it's through the breath. You can actually calm yourself down and remind your body that you're not in danger. And so that really helps me with my anxiety, my PTSD, to remind my body that I'm not in danger. And then I also really rely on my friends and my community and my family. I have such an amazing community around me that I'm so incredibly grateful for. And in any moments or instances where something might come up, I'll call a friend, and just chat through how I'm feeling, or I'll chat with my mom, talk to my brothers, ask them questions. A lot of what the last year and a half has really just been checking if I got the facts right. Going back into my journal, doing like research about my own life, which has been very interesting, especially because a lot of times my memory would recall things like that were hopes that were not actually maybe how a situation happened. A lot of
when you say hopes, like something that you thought happened or like what you wanted to happen but didn't actually happen.
Correct. Yeah. And having that confusion of thinking that is what is how it ended up happening. Yeah. So things that were hopes, like a silly example would be like at work. I thought we had a certain budget, but we didn't. We had a different budget. Like that's like a silly example, but that's like, something I really had to check in with my manager at the time. So that's a silly example. But then other examples would be like, oh, like this friendship, we're still friends, right? And it'd be like, oh no, because this situation happened. And be like, oh wow, okay. I thought that was totally different how things occurred. So yeah, a lot of personal research, a lot of reading about myself, going back and looking at photos, stuff like that. Yeah.
You obviously experienced, you said, memory loss. You still had some of your memories, but there was a lot that was missing from sort of this past version of who Janine was.
Yeah.
And this actually was a question from one of my listeners, which
awesome.
was, how do you like balance between relying on your family and friends to tell you, like you just said, you're not friends with that person anymore, or like, this is what you like, this is what you don't like, versus how much do you rely on like your own gut or intuition about how you are feeling?
Yeah, that's such a good question, because I had to ask myself that in early days as well. Where I feel like I've landed is because I have healed a lot. I've learned that actually, as a part of who I once was, is I was very intuitive, and I still am. And I think when it comes to facts about my life, those are things that I really do rely on those around me. I also will say I have incredible relationships. I have like people around me who are so safe, people who are very honest with me, people who are not shying away from the truth of the matter, people who can tell me like, hey, oh, you were in the wrong in this situation, or hey, this is how you approached it, or they were in the wrong, or things like that. I do go to, I have very trusting relationships, and so I'm able to really rely on folks. And then when it comes to things that are intuitive, the way I approach my life now is I really give myself the freedom to feel like I started over, because it really is that, Anna, like the expectations that we have on children is so different to what we have in adults, right? We're not expecting a 2-year-old to understand that the reason they're crying is because they need to take a nap, and so I allow myself that as well. I allow myself the like grace and the empathy to know that I'm genuinely just figuring it out. And things like when I'm in social settings, if I forget someone's name, I actually had to really let go of any shame that I might have had around memory loss, because I think a lot of people do experience shame around memory loss.
Yeah.
Because they feel like, oh, like it's not that I don't care about you, or it's not that it's genuinely a condition that I'm facing. And so for myself, I just like let go of any of that shame, and I also let people in on my experience. And so people the people around me are very understanding and kind. And generally when you say like, oh, I'm so bad and my memory is terrible, most people are like, yeah, oh my God, me too. And like you have this like moment of like relating. And yeah, so it's a balance of like looking to those around me for the facts. And then trusting my intuition. I think like as a child does grow and starts to learn about themselves and becomes a young adult and a teen and then a young adult, they start to gain their own intuition. I genuinely feel like I went through that process of like from being like an infant in the early days and like growing into like being a little baby and then, taking my first steps and like, and then becoming, a young person and discovering the world, and then recognizing all these things like the social climate of the world, and even experience things like shock of like, oh my gosh, like this is how we treat people in my country, or like this is the history of the world, like oh my goodness, this happened, and like really relearning about what this world is and who's like, who I am as well. like kind of like a teenager going through like, high school, and then like trying to understand like, oh my God, I have a crush on this guy, and like, what do I do with this emotion? And I'm like, why am I sweating? It's like all of a sudden, like, like learning like all of those little things.
Yeah.
Learning how to like not be shy around the guy that I like, or like I started being really passionate about pursuing my hobbies and making space for the things that I'm interested in. And so like, I started taking a ceramics course, and like the first day of ceramics class is like the first day of school. Like, those
Aw.
emotions that are like very like just sweet and kind, and almost like we associate them with, youthness and youthfulness, and I really went through those all over again. And it's almost like I went through like from being an infant to being an adult in a very condensed amount of time, and I really do recognize that I already had all of those experiences. So I was able to draw from my past before being sick. And that process is, it's complicated in some measure, but I also remember like, I've gone through this before, like I've experienced the first day of class. I can do it.
Right. I can do it again.
Yeah. Like, oh, I've had a crush before. I know I can do it. It's been there. It's not that my past self is not me. It's still very much so me. I think that in some measures it helps me understand what's going on with me is a way of like being like, okay, this is who I once was and this is who I am now. However, it's so interconnected, and the body keeps the score. And like all the skill sets that I had previously of like the mind body connection, like those are all coming back because I already had that practice previously. I practiced yoga, and I was very in tune with my body from even previous illnesses. And so, so, things come back, and I'm very, very grateful that things come back. I don't think that everything will all come back, which is okay. I'm like learning to accept that right now, actually.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the times we think about ourselves as like a puzzle piece, and we have to collect all these different puzzle pieces, and then we have to put them all together, and then we'll be like our full complete version of ourselves, right? But that's not true at all. It's almost like, digital photo where it's changing all the time. I think about how much I've changed since when I was a kid. Yeah. And so a lot of the things that I liked when I was a kid, I don't like anymore.
And I think this is I'm so glad you brought this up, because I think in adulthood, we kind of get into the rhythm of our responsibilities, and, we accept that this is what our life is going to look like, or, this is all that my life is. And we kind of forget to dream, or we forget to explore. And that's something I'm very deeply passionate about, especially because I nearly passed away. Now, the way I want to live my life is in a constant state of growth and exploration, and like radical exploration, which is what I mentioned earlier, not restricting myself to really anything. And as much as my body allows, I want to be able to move through this world in a state of constant awe and constant desire to grow and try new things and pick up a new hobby. Like, you know what? Call me Jack. I will be Jack of all trades. And like, call me, and it's funny because even like that quote of like Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
The whole quote is Jack of all trades, master of none, Jack of all trades is better than one.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
I think that's how it goes. Correct me if I'm wrong. We'll have to double check it.
I didn't even know there was a latter part to that quote.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Which is so true. Like, it's, for me, I'm like so happy to be like terrible at ceramics. Like,
but we talked about this already. You are good. You are very good at ceramics. You are way better than me at ceramics.
Stop. But like, it's just like a fun thing to do. Yeah. And I think as adults, with our responsibilities and life and families and everything that we need to take care of, I think we can often forget that like to live is really to explore and to understand who we are and to be ever evolving. I always want to be growing and evolving, not in the sense where I'm trying to achieve a certain perfection or anything like that.
Right.
Which is like really wonderful. I think I had to really let go of any form of perfectionism that I used to have. I give myself the freedom to just be really bad at things, and it's so freeing. It's the best. Just to try something new and then be bad at it, or try something new and then realize you love it. For me with acting, that is, and I mean, I actually used to do like improv when I was a kid. I did it like from grade 4 to grade 12. And I loved improv because I come from like the funniest family ever. And I just wanted to be as funny as my brothers are. And so I did improv when I was a kid, and then I remembered more recently that, oh, like this is a thing I wanted to do when I was young. I loved doing it. Let me take an acting class, or let me try out acting. And I just applied to some things online, on Backstage.com, and I actually ended up being in a short film more
You're the
recently.
lead
Yeah.
in a short film, not just being in a short film.
And now I have the acting bug, and yeah, so we'll see where that takes me. But
I love that you said that though, because there are actually a ton of studies that show that people who are in a career as an adult that latches onto something that they liked when they were a kid, those people are the happiest.
oh wow,
Yeah.
wow, yeah. There's always a reason why. Something that I learned is that there's always a reason why something is on your heart. You know, for you to start this podcast, right? For example, let's say, for example, that was on your heart for a very specific reason. And look at you, you're doing it. And and it's incredible and it's amazing. And it'll be beautiful. And it's just the beginning. And I genuinely feel so honored to be here in your beginning days. Yeah, it's so special, Anna. Yeah. But there's a reason why it's on your heart. And I think when we follow our intuition and we bring things to life, there's a way we're tapping into our childlike wonder that I genuinely want to carry throughout my life. I want to continue on having that childlike wonder, and tap into all the different ideas that we might have. And I totally believe that they're happier, like, because, it's fulfilling of dreams. And I think as adults, we kind of hear like, oh yeah, make your dreams come true. And we're like, yeah, for the young people, or like, like for the youth. But it's so important to bring our dreams to life because they're on our heart for a reason.
What's the most important thing to you today, Janine?
Oh, well, I think right now my health is in a place that is stable, which is really nice. I'm still recovering slowly, but I'm past kind of the danger zone, if that makes sense. And so today, what's really important to me is setting myself up and setting my life up in a way that I am able to pursue my dreams. And then right there next to it, maybe even a little bit more, is investing into my relationships and building my community. And it's so special to think like I haven't even met some of the most important people who are going to be a part of my life yet, and it's really special to think that I get the second chance at life to really build again. I often struggle with feeling like, am I doing the right thing with my time? God gave me the second chance. Am I doing the right thing? And I I realize that the right thing is I am doing the right thing. I'm living, figuring it out, and that is what is right. And being true to what is the desires that are on my heart, the passions that are on my heart, and really giving them a chance, making space and time for them is so important to me. And really investing in my friendships and my relationships. Yeah, those are the most important things to me.
You shared with me the first thought that you had when you woke up.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing for the audience what that was?
Yeah. When I found out that I nearly passed away, which I found out I think it was the day or two after, and this is really the first thought that I remember having was like, do the people that I love know how much I love them? I think it's very easy as adults to get caught up in work.
Yeah.
Yeah, to make our work the main priority. While it's very important, yes, I wasn't thinking about like, oh my God, did I send in that invoice? I like, I didn't think about that for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about like, oh my goodness, does this person know? Like, do they know? Like, because there was a really big sense of urgency of like, I want to see everybody I love right now. Yeah. And I'm only allowed to have two people, two guests at a time at the hospital. But so my pursuit of having deep, intimate, loving relationships is like always at the forefront of my mind. And I think I'm really, really interested in how can I connect in the most authentic, true, loving and honest way with people as quickly as possible. Because I'm also very aware that our time on this earth is so short. And so how can I get to that, connection, that deep connection quickly, and like bypass all the like frills.
Small talk,
Yeah. And like, small talk has its place. Like small talk's important in the sense that like, you're warming up.
Yeah. Okay.
Like
okay.
in that sense.
Yes.
But how do I also get to you? Like, how do I get to know Anna? Like, how can we get there as quickly as possible? Because I know that there's so much that I can like learn from you. And there's also just outside of even like pulling from learnings from one another, but there's connections and memories that we're going to have together.
Yeah.
That I'm so excited to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are listening to this podcast, they're not recovering from a coma, but they do feel stuck.
Yeah.
So they're scared. They're sort of waiting until they feel ready to do something. What would you say to someone who's waiting for permission to start?
I think that's a great question. I think there's like two aspects to it. I think there's a lot of people who wait for permission, and then I think there's a lot of us who give up. And I've been both. When it comes to the permission aspect, I think it's important to look inwards and try and understand where that comes from. For me, it came from being a Black woman in Canada and feeling like I don't have a lot of agency in general and experiencing a lot of racism when I was a kid and things like that. And not feeling like I have a lot of agency. And so when I started to learn where the permission aspect was rooted in and feeling like, oh, wait a minute. I'm no one can tell me I'm not allowed to pursue something. When I let go of that permission aspect, when I recognized, oh, okay, I understand where this is coming from. Maybe for others, it's maybe you had a strict parent who didn't allow you to do things in a certain way. Maybe you have expectations from your partner or a parent, or maybe you feel like you're only good enough at this one thing, or maybe you gain value. Maybe all of your value is set in what you do. And so you feel like you don't have the permission to stray away from that thing. I think investigate that, like look deeper into where it's coming from and then challenge it. Because who's telling you that? That's always where my mind goes. It's like, okay, where is that coming from? And then for the aspect of, for the people who give up, I think that trying and understanding that sometimes something is not for you is different than giving up. You know what I mean? Like giving up before you even start is very different from trying and working on something and recognizing like, okay, you know what, maybe I'll approach this differently, or maybe this is actually not for me.
Yeah, totally.
Because I've also gone through that too. Yeah. But for the people who are kind of almost giving up on themselves before really investing and trying and like moving forward, also, you need to investigate what's going on in there that makes you feel like you're not worthy or makes you feel like you're not enough to like move forward or give it a shot. And what voices are you making louder in your own mind than that voice inside of you telling you that you should? Get that idea that's like been at the back of your head for years that you've wanted to try. And also like you really only have this life. I jokingly say you only live twice. Like it's all because of my city. Like I'm not getting another chance. Like, I jokingly say that, but it comes from a place of just really being aware of how much time we really have. It's so short.
Yeah.
And so it's 100% worth investing in. I also love the conversation of risk, like, oh, it's actually a bigger risk. Let's take, your podcast, for example. I'm using it for example. I don't know if this is all true, but it, for other people, it might feel like such a big risk to like invest into a podcast and, and start this creative outlet. But why is it, for me personally, I think it's more of a risk to not.
To not, yeah.
I think it's more of a risk to not pursue the things that are on your heart. Because at the end of your life, which is what I experienced at the almost end of my life, I was just thinking about, oh my goodness, how did I live? And did I honor the things that are on my heart? Because they were there for a reason.
Okay, so now as we get to the end of the episode, I wanted to ask you some sort of rapid fire / questions from the audience. Oh. Okay, so the first question is, if there was a movie about your life, Who would you want to play you?
Oh, Lupita Nyong'o.
Okay.
Oh,
Love.
Lupita.
What a good answer. What a good answer.
Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me?
Lupita, if you're listening to this.
If this ever gets to you, Lupita. Hi.
It will. It will.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Okay. This one comes from someone who reached out over Instagram.
Okay.
What's the most random fact you've learned about yourself from other people?
Oh, that's a hard one. I am like clumsy. In my mind, I'm not clumsy. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like a ballerina. Like I am like pointed on my toe, but like no, I'm clumsy.
Like you're physically clumsy, like you'll like fall.
Like I guess like I just be bumping into things. Yeah, and like I used to be really good at balancing because my balance was like really off because of my health and everything like that. You also have to learn balance when you're learning how to walk. But I was like really good at balancing things on my head. That was like my party trick.
Oh, on your head.
Yeah,
okay, that is a pretty impressive party trick.
Yeah, it's a pretty good party trick. Like in high school, I like apparently like I had my one teacher was like, okay, Janine, if you can balance 2 binders on your head and a water bottle that's open to the front of the class and then walk back, the whole class gets to leave half an hour early. And I guess I did it.
What? You must have been like the most popular person in the class after that then.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I actually, like in high school, that was another fun thing to learn is like who I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was like the school president and like high school president and like, I was at one point captain of my volleyball team and like captain of the improv team and all these like fun things.
Does that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me, but I was just like proud of my little self, I guess. It doesn't surprise me though. Yeah. Like it makes sense. Like being my mother's daughter and then also being like a sister to my 2 brothers, like it adds up. It adds up.
Because that doesn't surprise me at all. Oh. I've known you for like all of 20 seconds. No, not more than 20 seconds. But yeah. Okay, that is a great answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one also came from an Instagram DM, which is, if your pre-coma self and your current self met, what would they argue about?
Argue about? That's funny. Whether or not I should shave my head again.
Okay, where are you at now with that?
Okay.
Well, first off, your hair's beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My mom did my braids. She's amazing. Okay. So pre-coma self, I love being bald. I still do. It's in my final form. But when I was in a coma, I actually had bed sores. And so I had bald spots on my head.
Oh, okay.
And so now I'm like, oh no, if I shave my head, is there going to be the bald spots there? Mm-hmm. But I love being bald. It's like my final form.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're
bald by choice, by the way.
Bald by choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bald by choice. I love it. Even if I lost my hair too, great. More reason.
What's like, is it freeing?
Yeah, it's just so freeing. And I also think I feel like I can really see my mom's face in me when I have like no hair. I think so I feel like more connected to her. And I feel like I look very, very like rund and also like very connected to, my heritage and things like that. So I love short hair. I love being able to like see my neck and my face and
so
the dome.
Would your pre-coma self not have wanted that then?
Well, no. My pre-coma self did want that. Oh, okay. Right now, I don't know if I want it or not.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because I'm just like worried about if the bald spots are there.
I see.
Okay. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just like wrestling between it. That's a silly answer, but
your hair grows back.
I know it does grow back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So you can always do it. And then,
yeah, it's true.
This one actually came from TikTok, and I quite like this one, which is, since losing your memory, have there been any music or movies that you've re-experienced that changed the way you see something?
Oh, okay. So one thing about my memory loss is like a lot of my memories have come back. Slowly, like they're triggered by different things and things trigger other things. And so a lot of my memories have come back. However, I don't remember any plots to any movies or books or TV shows. So I'm really rediscovering media and storytelling. Like I'm really from the beginning. And so a movie that impacted me. Forrest Gump. I watched Forrest Gump, and
yeah.
I was like, oh, so lovely. Wakanda Forever, like, yeah, all the Wakandas. Trying to think. Oh, I'm reading Frankenstein right now, and that's really lovely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are these like movies and books you've seen before? Or
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So you get to
yeah.
sort of re-experience them
Yes,
again.
yes, which is really nice. Like I have like a vague, like with Wakanda, I knew it was like Black Panther and like, but I don't have like the storyline. I didn't remember it at all. And so it's really nice to like watch things again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got back into Abbott Elementary, which was like great. I love Quinta Brunson. And also like Janine is like the main character, which is like silly, but yeah. That's been great. I really want to watch Arthur again. I feel like I need to like get into like the kids stuff again. Yeah. Maybe
okay.
SpongeBob.
Oh my God, I love SpongeBob as a kid. I loved Bears Seen Bears. Did you ever watch Bears Seen Bears?
Yes.
Oh my God, that was my favorite.
I need to watch that again too.
Yes.
Maybe some Winnie the Pooh. Like
love
get
that.
back into the
We'll have a watch party or something like that.
Oh, I would love that.
That'll be how. Instead of coffee, we'll do that.
Okay, that would be really cute.
I actually would like to do that. Okay. I'm glad you're not joking.
Oh, I'm so serious.
Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, so Janine, on this podcast, I have a tradition where I ask all of my guests the same closing question.
Okay.
And that is, if I were to sit down with you and interview you again in 5 years' time, what would have to happen in your life to make you feel proud?
Oh, wow. I think that I continued to pursue my artistic endeavors, that I didn't give up on it. I think that would make me feel very proud of myself, and that I have deepened my relationships. I kind of circle back to that all the time, and that I was vulnerable and brave with every aspect of myself and how I build relationships in my art practice, and how I move through the world, that I did not revert to closing myself off, but that I continued to be courageous in pursuing the things that I want to pursue with my career and my art practice and all that. That would make me feel proud of myself. Yeah, because I think that's what makes me feel proud of myself now. So I think if I continued to practice that, then
you'll be proud.
Yeah, I'll be proud. Not letting the world make me feel too jaded or anything like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Janine, thank you so much for coming onto this podcast. I'm so glad to have met you. I'm so glad that we've had multiple opportunities to speak now. And I'm so glad that you got a second chance at life.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to have been here.